Chiefs won, and they won big. They absolutely smashed the Ravens. No one would have predicted that. Look, the Ravens had many, many injuries. But where were the excuses for the Chiefs when we had all our injuries? And we've still got injuries. There's no excuse. Mahomes looked back to his best. Mahomes was amazing. The introduction of Worthy was exactly what the offense needed. John Taylor had no penalties. The defense looked great. Let's get into it. Right, so we're going to go off and we're just going to start. The Chiefs put up the most points in a game since September 2023, which were against the Bears. I mean, no one predicted this. Not one person this week predicted this. Nine analysts out of 10 picked the Ravens to win, apart from one guy. How crazy is that? And the Chiefs went out there and absolutely put the bout on the Baltimore Ravens. Everything was in sync. Mahomes threw 4 TDs for I can't remember the last time he even did that. They were just clicking all over the shop. The reintroduction of Xavier Worthy was just exactly what the offense needed. People were saying all this time, it doesn't matter who the Chiefs get back. They're cooked. They're not that good anymore. Mahomes is washed. They can have Rice and Worthy on the field at the same time. It doesn't really matter. This team is not the same team. Even former players were saying this. It goes a lot deeper, etc., etc. And you put Worthy out there, and he had the most receiving yards and most rushing yards of any player. How crazy is that? And he's not even fully 100% yet. People didn't want him out there. People were saying the first hit he's going to take, it's over for him. He's 160 pounds soaking wet. Well, look, history says that he can play through an injury, he can take a hit, and he's durable. Look how quick he came back, and he looks like 100% Worthy. It's just phenomenal. He absolutely steamrolled the Ravens secondary. And yes, look, we'll go. They've got injuries. They had injuries in the game. So what? It's your best men against your best men at the end of the day. The Chiefs have got injuries. The Chiefs still haven't got Rasheed Rice back yet. The Chiefs had defensive injuries. They spent $20 million on acquiring Christian Fulton, and he's barely played yet. Mike Daniel is out. So I don't want to hear that. You go out there, you try your best. We weren't making excuses all of our losses through weeks. Yes, every Chiefs fan would have said, look, the offense is going to be different when Worthy and Rice are back up there. We only needed one of them to look this good this week. So what's it going to be like when Rasheed Rice comes back? You think about the games we lost, it was very close. I've been saying this for the past few weeks. We lost them by fine margins. It wasn't like we got, obliterated and then we're like, oh, wow, I wonder if Worthy and Rice are really going to make that much difference. It was, if we had one of them, probably win that game. If we had Worthy for the first game and didn't make them mistakes and the defense was not all out of sorts, we probably beat the Chargers convincingly. The Eagles game was neck and neck. Again, you have Worthy for that game. You're stretching the defense. You're giving different options. You're breaking up that whatever defense has been thrown at us for the first 3 weeks without him. It becomes null when he's out there because his pure speed and athleticism and everything he can do changes the whole plan. And you saw it against the Ravens. Didn't have Awuzie, who was on him, was getting absolutely bullied the whole game. And you just I personally saw this coming. I didn't see the 4 TDs. I didn't see the obliteration, but I saw the change was coming. I thought you stick Worthy out there, you're going to see a different offense. Even without Rice, you're going to see a different offense. But you saw a different Patrick Mahomes as well. I mean, look, he has been playing well for the Chiefs this season, but that was MVP Mahomes. That was very, very MVP Mahomes. He played out of this world. Throwing 4 TDs, just absolute dots all over the field. I mean, even when you look at the Juju touchdown was phenomenal. Absolutely zapped that one in. absolutely zapped it. I mean, I don't know. I want to try and find the speed of that because the speed was just out of this world with how he zoomed that into him, and then you just go, but even Travis Kelce was out there making plays. Vintage. The one that absolute dot he threaded to him reminded me of about the old days of them two. Just like making plays, man. That's what you put it down to. You don't have to dive into that too much. It's just like there's Mahomes, there's Kelsey, and they're making plays. You know, the running game was better. I always say this. We're not a massive running team, but I believe this about any team really in the NFL, but especially with the Chiefs. If you just have a running game that's functional, you probably win the game. Because if you're out there every week doing the same stuff, teams are going to know what to do against you. We saw it in the Philly game, saw it to a degree in the Chargers game. But it just had a different mechanism to it. Yes, Worthy was the leading rusher, but he absolutely, took an end around for what, 30 odd yards. Like, so, what do you expect? Defenses can't handle him when he's like that. But Pacheco had 35 yards. You know, I think he had 7 carries, so it was at 5 yards per carry. It's actually not bad for an average. If you were getting more carries out of him in that game, he's going to put up good numbers. You got Kareem for the short yardage, and then we're finally started to see the snap increase for Brashard Smith, and it made a difference, especially in the receiving game. Shock horror, he's a wide receiver that was converted into a running back, so he's going to be very, very good receiving back out of the backfield, and he showed it. That was like a breath of fresh air to that rushing room. Got the fans hyped, they got the team hyped, and then look, the line. Yes, they were going up against a depleted Ravens D line, but it's football. You play the game. It's as simple as that. And Kingsley was magnificent. Josh Simmons was great. I tell you who really deserves some praise this week. John Taylor, 0 penalties, absolutely 0. Not 1, not 4, 0. Flawless. And you know what? When he isn't getting penalised like he normally is, he's actually a decent, right tackle. Very good at, you know, pass blocking. He is He deserves his credit. He deserves his credit for this week. Let's hope it continues. We're not going to get carried away. Oh, Joanne's back. We're finally saved. But if he can keep that up, minimize them penalties, not get as many, we're good. We're looking good. And look, as well, I want to say congratulations to Joanne Taylor because he just got engaged to his fiance. And many people making jokes saying maybe it was on his mind and now it's off his mind. He's back to getting no penalties. Maybe the penalties are because he had too much on his mind. Who knows? But look, congrats. Congrats on 0 penalties, and congrats on getting engaged. And now, when we look at the makeup of the offense going forward, you just think, wow, what's it going to look like? I said this during the game when I was watching it. I was like, I've got to say this. What's it going to look like from Rafid back in that lineup? Man, that's going to be crazy because there's another dimension. These defenses now have they're plotting for a Chiefs that's it's not fully 100%. Yes, Worthy's added a whole new level back into it, but you put him in, and you're in big, big trouble. I've said this ever since the preseason with how that they built that wide receiver room. It's the best wide receiver room Patrick Mahomes has ever had. Yes, Tyreek Hill was one of one, never to be replicated, but his support cast, as good as they weren't as good as these guys. Sammy Watkins was very, very good player for us, but he couldn't stay healthy long enough. And then you have other guys, McCole, who was there, the original Legion of Zoom, you know, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle. They ain't like these guys. Tyquan Thornton, Hollywood Brown, Juju, Nico. Jalen Rose is going to come into the fold. But all these guys, they're still making plays, still scoring touchdowns. I mean, you got Juju, the self proclaimed unk. He's only, 28, 29, but now he's the unk of the room. Scoring touchdowns, making plays, breaking tackles, doing blocks, whatever he needs to do when he's out there, he's doing it and he's still reaping the rewards. Hollywood Brown, who a lot of the fan base to sleep on because he's had injury problems. Yes, he struggles to stay on the field, but right now he's on the field and he's been holding it down while the two main guys haven't been able to be on the field. Touchdown. Tyquan Thornton. Touchdown. You know, Mahomes threw touchdowns to four different receivers, which is just like it's exactly what you want to see from the offense. We've had red zone issues for the best part of more than a year. The last year we were just getting through games, but now it's like when they got in there, they were just ruthless. You thinking when they got there, they're gonna be the same old, but they actually were just ruthless. It was amazing to see. It was probably a lot of people were saying this. Probably one of the most relaxed Chiefs games we've watched in a long while. That meme that goes around. Funny enough, that meme, the meme, the heart monitor meme. You all know the meme I'm on about. I got an Instagram story banned for posting that, so I'll never post that ever again after last year. But that was, we didn't need that meme this game because it was flawless. You were just sitting there in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter, like, oh, when's Mahomes going out? When's Minshew coming in? When we getting Minshew mania? And we got it. But it was that kind of game. 10 out of 10, no notes for the offense. As we've seen, I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks. Is it going to become an issue? I don't know. It still is an issue. Is Harrison Butker missing kicks again? But the thing is, there's not really a wide. It's not a wide concern yet because you can't go. I mean, the thing is, right? You guys know from seeing it, you all online, that there's a section of Chiefs fans that can be very, very overreactive in the heat of the moment. I'm sure we're all guilty of this, but they were calling for him to be cut. They were calling, oh, I wish we would have cut Butker in his salary last year and kept Spencer Schrader, who's doing a phenomenal job at the Colts, by the way. I'm a huge fan of Schrader, but it was just impossible to keep him on the team. Someone was always going to pick him up and make him into a kicker because he did a stellar job while Butker was out. And the salary question will always come up because if someone's not performing, you've seen it with John Taylor. He's a massive casualty on the salary books and the cap. And unfortunately, this year there's nothing you can do about him. Next year, there's every chance that he gets cut and moved on, and they move on at right tackle. But he has a large salary for a kicker, and I've seen a lot of these takes, especially during the game and after. Butker is a question, but the problem is it's not even a problem. The issue is when you come to discussing that is he's a legend in the building. He's certainly not washed because he made kicks after. It's just you want to get them hiccups and errors out of the way at this time of the season. We're only 4 games in. He's missed a kick every game. Not great, but I back him by midway through the season, past the bye week, just be nailing kicks all the time. There's that bit of doubt in the back of your mind where you think, well, if it comes down to a game where we need to get to the 1 seed or win the AFC West, then we need to be able to rely on him to hit them kicks. But I really do believe by the time that issue does come around, he'll be there to nail them. He's been coached for us for so many years. You can't just turn your back on the player because he's going through a bit of a patch. So that remains to be seen. But let's back Butker for now. And look, defense was great. I expected them to have success. I really did. Chris Jones. Let's shout out Chris Jones because there was suddenly, I think it was Saturday evening, the news broke that the Chiefs added him to the injury report. No one knew what was going on until further reports really elaborated on the fact that he was going back to Mississippi to attend his aunt's funeral, which, let's be honest, for everyone involved, family first over football. But he said he was coming back. It was clear that he was going to attend the funeral. The fine margins of organising this were off the scale, but, this is high level professional sports where they have these kind of people to deal with this. So you had the reports the reports were that he was in Mississippi. He was going to get the there was clearly a jet involved. I mean, people were freaking out that he was going to get on a on a normal, domestic flight. There's no chance of that happening. There's too many variables involved. He was always going to fly into the downtown, Casey Airport. I'm pretty sure Clark sent him on a jet and then took the jet back. And then he was always going to get an escort from the airport to make it because there was no way to make it otherwise. Traffic, delays, but he landed on time. They got him there, police escort, and he played the game. And Chris Jones deserves a lot of respect for that because he could have easily attended his aunt's funeral and just said, "Look, I'm not in the right frame of mind to play," and everyone would have appreciated it. Me certainly, I would have thought, you know what? Yeah, it's a big game. Yes, you paid to do a job. Yes, you paid loads of money, but you only ever have a number of aunts in your life and only one time to attend their funeral. So I'd have understood it, but no, Chris Jones came back in the suit. He arrived in the suit he wore to the funeral, didn't have a warm up. Someone actually joked to me saying he was doing high knees on the jet, but we don't know about that. um, he got out there, had the tears, he was clearly on an emotional roller coaster, and he played, he balled out. He made his presence felt. The D line balled out, George was high in pressures again. I mean, the the corners balled out again. I think the whole defense played well, like they had to. They were so zoned in, but the corners. I mean, Trent, Jalen Watson, and I really, really got to shout the rook. Noel Williams again. He's just like absolute. Veach just never misses on corners, does he? Ever? People will say, he didn't draft running backs very high, or he's whiffed on a couple of wide receivers, or he always whiffs on edge rushers. But man, he nails corners every single time. And Noel Williams, look, we're only 4 games in, but he looks like the next big deal. He's again this week rated the highest cornerback on PFF. And I know everyone has their opinions on PFF, but you can't ignore them. Can't ignore the grades he's getting. And yes, he's played 40 snaps overall, but that's just a cause to give him more snaps. And then you look at that room and you think of all the possibilities going forward, and you think, well, has he already took a bit away from Fulton, who they've paid, so they're going to play him when he's healthy. But then you look to the future and you wonder, when it comes to paying Jalen Watson, both potentially this coming off season, do you not pay him? You pay Trent, for example, and you just keep rolling with Noel, which they probably will. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go out there and predict too much, but you think of stuff like that. Safeties were great again. Safeties were solid. Overall, fantastic performance by that team. And look, I said this earlier, and I've said this a lot, and people were doubting and doubting and doubting. But the AFC West is far from over. Yes, the Chargers beat us. Yes, they had a 3-0 start, and then they went and lost to the Giants. We just beat the Giants. How funny football is. We just beat the Giants, who didn't look great when we played them. All of a sudden, they went out there and done the Chargers, who apparently all of a sudden this big juggernaut like they are every year in the AFC West, mostly preseason. But it's just after 4 games, the Chiefs are just right in the mix again. Only takes a couple of games swing, and the Chargers still got to come to Arrowhead, and then it's game on. And as far as I'm concerned, when you look at the schedule, the Bills and the Lions are already the last 2 teams that the Chiefs should fear on there. I think we beat the Commanders, who are coming up. I think we beat the Chargers at Arrowhead, and there's a case that if the Chiefs go out there, they can beat the Bills and the Lions as well. Why can't they? The Chiefs listen. The Chiefs can beat any team on any given day as long as they turn up. If you ever watched the Chiefs in the Mahomes era, they only lose games by, except for the 2 Super Bowls, they only lose games by hardly anything. It's all their own doing. It's a mistake. It's a fumble. It's an error. And then you just go back to the drawing board and they win. I mean, look, if they lose to the Lions and the Bills, who really care? I always think get to January and let the game play out. And look, it wouldn't be a regular season if we didn't lose to the Bills. So whatever. If we beat them, great. more boasting in the fan base. But they're the two toughest games left. The Lions look great. The Bills look really good. The Bills and the Eagles are probably the two best teams in the NFL at the moment. Lions not far behind them. The Chiefs are coming into it, and if they keep playing like this, they're going to be hard to beat themselves. And we look ahead to the Jags game, and the Jags look 3-1 team. No one would have really expected that, but are they really a 3-1 team? You have these teams that go out in these leads and then they get stopped halfway through the season, or they come up against a good team and they're not the same anymore. They just beat the Niners, and the Niners are like absolutely depleted, and they still like just about got past them. So I'm not saying I expect to go into Jacksonville and steamroll them, but fully expect to win that game. I mean, the one thing that sticks out to me for the Jags is their defense. It was very bad last year, but I believe they're leading in takeaways, fumbles, interceptions, etc. They might have 9 ints alone. So the defense is clearly balling out, but then what I'd say they're a running back, with ETN. He's having a very, very good start to the season, but the Prince Trevor Lawrence, for the contract he's got, he's not exactly, for me, he's not a top 10 quarterback in NFL. So we should be getting in there, getting pressure on him. We definitely need to get more sacks to pressure them, put him into some pressure, force him into mistakes, play our game on offense, and we should get in there and get out with the win. And that should just be routine for them. And then you've got that game, you have the Lions, and then you have the Raiders, which is the big return of Rashee Rice. And then things get really fun. Really, really fun for this Chiefs team. And look, as far as I'm concerned, I'll use a quote. We've made out the mud, in my opinion. Said this Ravens game was pivotal for us, and I really believe it. This was the starting block for a big run now. And I really believe no matter who's on the schedule, we can beat them all. Got very, very high hopes for this team, and there's a lot to look forward to and be excited for Chiefs fans. Make sure to like and subscribe.